In our 32 years at One-to-One, we've learned that the less wear and tear we can expose the body to, with the biggest benefit from an exercise standpoint, the better. So if we can give you more bang for your buck physiologically, and in terms of results from your exercise, with less wear and tear on the joints and the tissue, we think that's a home run. An important strategy in that regard that we'll introduce today is a visual tweak to your exercise. So first, what I want to do is have you determine which is your dominant eye, if you don't already know it. Simply make a triangle. I can see the camera through the small triangle I've made with my hands. I'm going to draw that back to my face, and for me, it immediately exposes that my left eye is my dominant eye. So for some exercises, I'm simply going to cover that eye so that my nervous system, my brain, my computer, has to process the same information with only one filter versus two, and the body has to donate more bandwidth to that process, making the exercise a little bit more difficult in terms of coordination and work. So let's start simply. We know my left eye is my dominant eye. I'll cover it for dramatic visual so you know that I'm here, but you could just wink it, you could put a patch on it. And I'm gonna simply go into a squat. Very stable, my feet are under my hips, not a big balance requirement, not a big load requirement on the body, a nice mid-tempo speed. Good. And it does change the experience for me. As I progress into a more challenging exercise, like a lunge, here, there's a balance requirement, there's a coordination requirement, and now I've got basically my body weight load on one leg. So I've increased 3 different variables. Now let's change the sensory input. And for me, that is, I can feel as that foot hits, I wobble a little bit, I have to gain control, and that's great for both the joints, the musculature, and the nervous system in general. So on multiple levels, we get benefit simply by tweaking out a little bit of visual input. Essentially, it's like requiring more bandwidth for one aspect of the system. That means less bandwidth for another. If we add weight, it's not going to take my 15-pounders and make them into 30s, but it will turn them into 18s or 20s in many cases, depending on how much you rely on that dominant eye. So I'll wink that dominant eye closed. I'll do the same lunge. I'll add a little action tweak to it where I'm curling and pressing overhead. And now, whether I'm doing them at a lightweight and high repetitions for systemic demand, or at a heavyweight, low repetition for strength demand, my body has to process that information. That creates a physiological demand. That makes my load a little bit heavier, and I'll get more of that desired result in any of the cases. So again, just tweaking out your dominant eye, a technique introduced to the industry in the last couple of years by Integrated Kinetic Neurology, IKN.com, a great group of instructors. But that technique, tweaking out the dominant eye, adds more demand to the system with less wear and tear on the joint. We think tremendous increase in bang for your buck. It's not a technique you're going to do on a daily basis through the entirety of your sets. But pick a couple exercises, be safe with it, see if you can't start getting more for less.